From the Mass Rider Capital Worldwide Headquarters in Lubbock, Texas, this is Heights of Victory, a program showcasing businesses and leaders from across the region. You can expect to hear stories of success with bouts of adversity and resilience, which when paired with hard work and a little West Texas grit, culminate in the heights of victory. Welcome to Heights of Victory. I'm Jeff Horn, CEO of Mass Rider Capital. We're sure thankful that you've tuned in for today's first episode. So excited to get Heights of Victory started. I have my good friend Dan Pope here, who is the former mayor of the city of Lubbock, also is the co-founder and executive chairman of Victory Bank, and has been very active in our community. And I think most importantly, I'm excited to call him my friend. And so really appreciate you being here today, Dan.
It's great to be here. We appreciate you guys naming the podcast after the bank and positive,
I knew you would find
positive branding. There, Jeff.
Positive branding.
Yeah.
So
co-branding.
Yes. Co-branding. So well, I appreciate that. And so how I know Dan, I've known Dan for a long time. Through a number of community service ventures that Dan's participated in. We've often been known to play golf together, go to Texas Tech events together. I bought a business from you in the past, and we're still talking.
We are. Very much so.
On top of that, Dan's been a mentor of mine. He's a great man. He's a leader in this community, has built several successful teams. And so, for those that are new to the podcast here, we're going to dive into a little bit of historical information, then dig a little deeper, and then have a fun segment at the end called Around the Horn. So we'll get started here. But Dan, take me back to Temple, Texas. You're a young lad growing up, going to school, high school, eventually choose Texas Tech. What was life as a young man like for you in Temple, Texas?
Yeah, it's pretty much a, Mayberry kind of deal. Temple's a one high school town, a big one high school town. So we played at that time. 4A was the largest sports in Texas. We played 4A football. Three middle schools, all going to one high school. So by the time you get to high school, you were going to school with kids you'd known all your life. Same church, same friends. I just was. Folks were, I was born into a loving family. I'm the oldest of three boys. Dad's an engineer. Mom's a school teacher. I pinch myself all the time when I think about the way I got to grow up.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I've got three boys of my own, and what do you remember most about, having two other brothers and three brothers and no sisters in the family and stuff like that? What do you remember most about that?
We fought for the very breath that we breathed. We would come home. I even remember coming home from college, and David's the youngest. My brothers.
Yeah.
David's the youngest, and he it wasn't unusual for him. By this time he's got to be certainly in high school, and it wasn't unusual for him to come home just so mad that he was in tears because we still were fighting. And fast forward 40 years, and they're my best friends, and I'm very thankful for both of them.
Yeah, slightly competitive, I would take it.
Yeah, just very, I think uber competitive.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You decided to attend Texas Tech and go to Texas Tech. Tell me about that process and your college years and what you remember about it.
There's very little process, Jeff. My mom and dad met at Tech in the 50s. My dad was a first-generation college student from Temple. My mom was a rancher's daughter. She grew up in Graham. They met here. Dad always joked that we could go to college anywhere we wanted to, but he was only going to help us financially if we went to Texas Tech. And we all three came to Tech. And it was a great decision. I actually toured. I grew up in, Temple's right in between Baylor and A&M and Texas, University of Texas. And Baylor was financially didn't work for us. Texas didn't feel comfortable. I went to visit a friend at A&M and found it very odd. He had to have had to get a date for a football game like 4 weeks in advance, and then I walked on the grass in front of the student union and got chased by one of those freshman core guys, so it was an easy decision to come to Tech. College I had a very full college experience. I think full is a good word for it.
I know some of your friends, so
it was fantastic. I was active in the business school, was active in my fraternity. I was part of the student government. I was president of the interfraternity council my junior, senior year. I was fortunate enough to be in a couple of the honoraries, and I was a finance and accounting major, and decided that last semester that I wasn't going to practice accounting and I needed to get out. And my Vic was already in school. He was 2 years behind me, and David was on his way. And I knew that any help I was getting was going away. That scholarship was over. So I finished in the fall of '85, wanted to be a banker. And it was a horrible time in Texas to be a banker. There's the real estate crash and the S&L crash. And I wanted to work for a Republic bank. It was before back when we still had big Texas banks. And they hired another guy. I got the two of us were the finalists, and they hired another guy that I knew well. And it was a bit of a kick in the gut. But as I look back on it, I think there was a reason why it all happened. But my Tech years were great. We didn't win many football games. We won a lot of basketball games, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. I know it's hard to believe. It's 40 years ago now. And, when we, put athletics aside, just unbelievable growth at Texas Tech over those 40 years of what the university, it was a great university then, and what it is today. I mean, speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So when I came here in the fall of 1981, Tech was 24,000, I think, and really didn't grow a tremendous amount for the next 10 or 12 years, 15 years. And it was still the size that you knew a lot of the folks in your class, but it was what I loved about Texas Tech, and I still like about Texas Tech, is that even though we attracted more than half of our student body from more than 150 miles away, you still had, all that West Texas, grit in the kids you went to school with. I mean, I had a pledge brother from Spearman, and I had one from Post, and I had one from Adrian, and I had one from these little places that you got to know where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
We had a girl that we ran around with that her name was Kathy Nelson, but we called her Groover because she was from Groover. And Tech was a great experience. We lost in September of 1981. This Jerry Moore. More excitement, as they call it. That was the theme for the year.
Yeah.
We lost more football games that September than we lost in 4 years at Temple High School.
Yeah.
And we were 0-4 in September. So I had a rude awakening coming up here and to Tech, but nonetheless a great experience.
Yeah. So after Texas Tech, you embark on a career with Xerox Corporation, a premier publicly traded company at that time that took you from Midland to Austin and then on to Nashville before returning to Lubbock. Give us the highlights of that journey.
I think I had a friend who went to work for Xerox, and he was persistent about me going to spend a day with him in Midland and just seeing what he did, and I did finally, and they offered me a job, and it was a remarkable experience. That was back when Xerox and IBM and Procter & Gamble and a few others still provided world-class sales training. And I was provided this training that, weeks of training and ongoing training, not just the first 90 days. And I look back at that 10-year experience at Xerox, and It was a company, we won a Baldrige Award while I was there, National Quality Award. It was a company that completely changed who they were. We adopted the whole TQM, the Total Quality Management piece, and I got a master's without really going to school, and got my first management job in Nashville in January of '91. Took my girlfriend at the time, now wife, to the Cotton Bowl to see Miami just beat the crud out of her Texas Longhorns. She drove me to the true story. Drove me to the airport after the game. Flew to Nashville and started in my first management job the next day. Spent 4 years in Nashville, which was a fantastic experience. It was before Austin and Nashville that I lived in were very different than the Austin and Nashville today. But I learned a lot, and I got my nose bloodied a bunch. But it was a great foundation. Big companies do a lot of things right. Yeah. They do a lot of things wrong, but they do a lot of things right. And I think over the years, I've tried to be reflective over what I learned about the best in, big publicly traded companies. Right. And Xerox did a lot of things right. And so I'm the beneficiary of a lot of that.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but we have this in common. My first position was a company called Technaflex, and then they also had a bank software division called iMagic, but it was headquartered in Nashville. And I think it changed the trajectory of my life, receiving world-class sales training from a guy named Tom Black, who legendary, has written several books. And I see that in you, and knowing and me knowing some of the Xerox folks, I understand the culture and the fabric that you came from, and I can see how important that.
Yeah, it was a different day and time. I see you with your tie on today. We talked about this. We're glad you dressed up. When I went to work for Xerox, casual Friday meant you could wear a blue shirt with a tie.
Yeah, a blue shirt with
and a suit, not a sports coat. Yeah. So it's the world's changed in 40
Well, this
years.
is in honor of you. Red tie,
thank you, Jeff.
White shirt, dark suit.
I'm really touched.
I got my bag too. I'm carrying a bag also.
You have some quarters in your pocket.
Got quarters in my pocket.
In case you got to use a payphone, you got to have quarters.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So you have a great sales career at Xerox. You decide to come back to Lubbock. You start Benchmark Business Solutions. Believe in 1994. Describe that process, being an owner for the first time. And I know we could sit here and talk for 2 hours about what that meant, but maybe highlight that company and that period of your life.
Yeah. So we decided when Denise and I got married, one of the things that we had talked about was that the next move from Nashville was to Rochester, New York, if I was going to stay with Xerox. So that's 8.5 months of winter and three and a half months of spring. And we realized over time that was not a good fit. The corporate world was maybe not a good fit. And so I kept looking for opportunities. And Xerox actually had a program. I'm one of those people that they paid to leave. It was an incentive program to transition to one of their partners. And so that's what we did. We looked at a bunch of markets, and it happened to be that Lubbock worked for us. And so my wife had only driven through Lubbock on her way to ski in Colorado and New Mexico, and so had to bring her out here and do a sales pitch on Lubbock. And we were pregnant. Denise was 8 months pregnant with our oldest when we moved here. When she moved here, I came in October. She came in November of '94. I think what I know now, I would have been a lot more scared then. I had that. I guess it's that founder's mentality. I knew that the one thing I believed is that I'd learned to sell and to lead sales forces, and that if I failed, I could go get a job. Yeah, and that was the one thing that just I leaned back on, and so a loving wife, a lot of prayer, a community that embraced us, and it was a very understanding bank, frankly, which is one of the reasons I think I find myself as a community banker today. But it was just a great experience. That was and I think it was seven years or so before you could even take a deep breath. I mean, it just truly, that's how it is. You're growing, you're investing. You're not going on cruises around the world. I mean, you're playing what you can back into the business and trying to build a team that can deliver these services that you promise, and trying to build it with great people. And we were just really fortunate there.
Yeah. The copier business is pretty unique, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Very competitive. It fits though. We both found ourselves there. We both have very competitive makeups. It's all you have to do is fog a mirror to be able to sell a copier. And particularly if you want to sell on price. And, we were never going to be the cheapest. And so at some point I realized that my plight in life was to be a copier salesman.
Yeah.
And I decided that, okay, why not? I mean, let's
be
the best you can be,
Yeah.
And it sort of freed me up in a lot of ways. And it's the stories are remarkable about that, about the business. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of ways to make money, but in that business, you make money every time somebody prints a piece of paper, and often a penny or a fraction of a penny at a time. It's a remarkable space.
It really is. Yeah. We'll dive deeper into some of the business stuff here later on, but after you transition Benchmark Business Solutions, do some consulting for a couple of years with I believe Covenant, and then you get into politics. I think that's where most people will remember your very successful stint as leading our great city, 6 years as our mayor, and just wanted to highlight a couple of accomplishments. And I think Leprino Foods is the first one. They're coming online, and why don't you talk a little bit about Leprino and the efforts to get them here?
Yeah. Project Basil, we called them. That was the code name.
Yeah.
And when they landed in one of those big jets at the airport, it wasn't very hard to figure out who they were, checking the tail number. But great people. Mr. Leprino, who passed away earlier this year, he came on their second visit. His son-in-law, who's now their board chair, came on the first visit. We built relationships with from the chairman all the way down through their leadership team. They're men and women that I still call and talk to. Mike Durkin retired last year, was their CEO that made the decision to come here, and he became a very good friend. I think they came to West Texas because they liked the people they saw here, people that have that agrarian kind of background, folks that'll get up, dress up, show up, and shut up, just do their job and do it over and over and over. And that was a cool deal. We competed with a lot of other places, but that one is $1.2 billion in capital investment to Lubbock. Somewhere between 600 and 800 jobs. They actually just in the last 60 days have gone fully online, 24/7, 365 days a year. So they'll be a great corporate citizen. They're good folks. Debt-free, privately owned.
Remarkable.
Yeah, it's a remarkable family business. And I think that probably was something that really drew me to those guys. And so it was fun. I got to work with John Osborne and his team. Lawrence Skuvenick, the president of the university, was a fantastic ally in this effort. Barry Orr was the chairman of the Economic Development Agency at the time. Curtis Parrish was the county judge. Tim Collins was the chamber chair. I mean, we formed this group of five that we traveled and spent 2.5 days. Think about taking a university president and him setting aside 2.5 days to go to Colorado to do a site tour, to meet with them in their office, just to get to know them. Those are the kind of things that differentiated us and allowed us to win that deal. Yeah.
It's a remarkable business, and I think you're right. They're going to be a great add to Lubbock and West Texas, and excited to see where that heads. I know also the Ports to Plains corridor is a passionate thing for you as well, and talk a little bit about that.
So Laredo is the busiest land port in the country, and the second busiest port in the country. In fact, I've got a picture. It doesn't do any good to show it. We'll try to show it right now. I'd have to find it, but you can stand on the border crossing in Laredo and look south across the river, and you can't see far enough to see where there are not trucks lined up to come in. I mean, that's how important they are as a trading partner. And they come across the border and they really only have one alternative, and that's I-35, which is San Antonio and then Austin and then and so that's why you see the effort to do I-69 to Houston and up to the eastern part of the state, and that's the thesis for I-27. It's to connect Laredo in Mexico with the West Texas, the Midwest, and all the way up to Canada. It connects us with the not only the oil and gas and the food and the fiber. It's just the breadbasket of our country. Mm-hmm. It's not about Suburbans and sedans. It's really about 18-wheelers and getting them in a safe manner, getting them off of our smaller highways and getting them on an interstate highway. Your chances of dying in a car wreck if you live west of I-35 are nearly 1.5 times if you don't. It's because we're on these small roads with trucks on them with us. We need this traffic we need it on an interstate. We finally got everybody underneath the tent, Midland and in Odessa. We'd had San Angelo there, Big Spring there, Amarillo there, and the communities in between. And so it's a great effort. It's something it's one of those trees that our generation will plant, and our kids and grandkids will enjoy the shade of those trees. But it's the right thing to do, and it's good for Lubbock, Texas. That to me, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Yeah.
It's not exactly the same, but I mean, people that are in Lubbock's past have really done a good job with Lubbock's road infrastructure system where we're, everybody that comes here is like, we can get anywhere in town in 10, 15 minutes. And that's because of good planning.
That's right. We built a loop, the first loop before we needed it.
Yeah.
We had a loop when I was in college and we used to joke about it. No, it's and I think we've done the same thing with water. I think you look at in some of our other infrastructure, Lubbock is, we're ahead of the game. It'll serve us well in the future. Yeah.
And then it's hard to believe because at one point, I don't think I ever thought COVID was going to end. We're now 5 years removed, from that. I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on just a remarkable time. And when I think about COVID and specifically your leadership, I'm so thankful that you were in charge at the time to bring some sanity to a period of time that was really just unbelievable in a lot of different ways. But I'm curious, 5 years out, if you miss that and what maybe your perspectives are, post-mortem here.
I certainly don't miss it. It's really hard to even think back and realize what we went through. I was looking for a picture last night of Joe Ely. He passed away yesterday. He became a friend while I was in office. I was looking for a picture, and I was thumbing through some pictures of 2020 with mask on, and I just was thinking about, we got all this messaging that came from everywhere, and it changed so frequently. And I think the thing we tried to do was to just communicate the best information we had in a very in a real sober kind of consistent manner. We were trying to protect lives and livelihoods. Early on, we realized that this had an impact on our business community. We took a real pro-business approach to it. And 10% of our people were convinced it was a hoax. 10% didn't want to come out from underneath their rock. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't do enough to make it safe enough for them. And then everybody else in the middle was just very supportive and wanted to be safe and wanted to get back to their lives. And so I'm thankful that I got to go through it with our community, with people like our hospital CEOs, with people like Ted Mitchell, I mentioned Lawrence a minute ago, but Tech was a great partner in the deal. Ron Cook, was a great partner as our, who advised us medically. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, it was. I don't think anybody misses it.
No, I'm glad I'm not alone in that regard.
Yeah. And then, finally, this chapter that you're in now, you've been, 3 years in, maybe even longer than that, in Victory Financial Corporation and Victory Bank. You're the co-founder, you're executive chairman, you're in a visionary, type role. So lay out what what the vision is for Victory Bank and what y'all are trying to accomplish and where you want to take the bank.
Yeah, I think the thumbnail sketch on it is that there's always room for a responsive, safely run community bank. And community banks are what fuel our economy. Lubbock's is a small and medium-sized business town. There's over 7,500 businesses in Lubbock that employ less than 100 people. We only have one publicly traded company based here. Lubbock needs community banks. So community banks are, the capital is raised locally. 120 of our 150 shareholders are local. Our board is men and women that you know. We can make decisions quickly. Character matters. We're not doing our credit scoring, running it through some computer. So we think we help fuel the growth of the community that we love. And so it's a great place for me to invest in this chapter of my life.
Yeah. Well, congrats for.
Thanks. Thank you for your support.
Yeah.
Matt Scrider's been a supporter, and as have so many other people in our and families in our community. It's frankly, it's pretty. It's humbling. It's pretty daunting too. We got a big task in front of us.
Yeah. All right. So we've worked our way through the historical stuff. I want to dive deeper. I want to figure out what makes Dan Pope tick a little bit. And so in the different roles that you've performed in your professional career, tell me how you measure success as a leader and what components do you believe are necessary to be able to measure that success? Early
in my time back in Lubbock at Benchmark, there's a gentleman that was our first. I'd worked with him at Xerox, and he came over and worked. His name was Ron Ledgerwood. We buried him earlier this year. A great man, and he gave me a book. It's the only book he ever gave me. He wasn't a big reader. It was a book called Halftime, and it was the thesis was how to change your life's mission from success to significance. So I think a lot about significance, Jeff, and I think there's a lot of similarity. But I mean, it's that idea of I don't think they're gonna when they carve your epitaph on your gravestone, they're not gonna say he spent most time at the office. He made the most money. I hope that they say he was a great husband, a great father, a great son, that he loved his neighbor, and that he left his campground better than he found it. And to me, that's success. That's significance to me. And I hope that I've been true to that. That's the track I try to run down.
Yeah. One of the things that I really admire about you and something that's really hard to do, and that's building great teams. At Mass Rider Capital, we've got 24, maybe even 36 different investments. We're constantly trying to put the very best team together that we can for that particular portfolio company. But I've got to firsthand witness your team when we transitioned the business at Benchmark and the wonderful team that I got to experience there. I saw the coalition and the team you built when you decided to serve the great city. And now I've seen the team that you've built at Victory Bank and are still building. What do you think are the key components to building a great team, and what goes into that?
Yeah, so I think you have to resist the idea that everybody's going to be alike. It's a little bit like a football team. You don't need, you've got to have offensive linemen and running backs. You've got to have guys that can cover as well as guys that can tackle. And so you're looking for different skills. I think there's some common traits. I have that real simple 3-prong test. It's it's intelligence, energy, and integrity. Smart enough to do the job. I don't have to, have the energy. I don't have to check on you at 8 o'clock to make sure you're working. And third, most importantly, that I can trust you. And so I'm looking for those characteristics in anybody that I want to add to our team. Then I think you have to realize that team comes first. There's no I in team. Now there's an I in win, as Coach Bryles likes to remind me. But we want to be selfless. We want to have this idea that together we succeed. And it's not about an all-star at the expense of everyone else. And sometimes that means you move on from people who can't find a way to operate in that confines. I don't think it's like this rigorous kind of defined boundary. You want it to be, there need to be creative, creative edges to it so people can be different, but you got to pull together. And so I think if you don't lose track of that, I think communication's a big part of it. You know this as a business owner, but when you build that relationship where that mom comes in and early in the morning and looks at you and starts crying and say, hey, my husband so-and-so left me yesterday. I got home for a note. All I got was a note, and he had moved his stuff out. That's the kind of thing you deal with as a business owner. And at that point, you're more than just a boss. And you build a family, and you can't succeed, I don't believe, without investing in people and knowing and loving and respecting people.
Yeah. That's one of the, as a young business owner, I didn't realize the magnitude it would have on me. And I can see it in your words and the emotion that you speak about building teams of like your personal success you think is the most important, maybe going into it, but watching team members succeed is way more rewarding.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
So. It's like your kids. It's like watching your kids be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're at that point where you're getting to see some of that, with your boys. And no, it's exactly right.
Yeah. So who are the people in your life early on that were mentors to you, that maybe chose you for their team or, just mentored you to help you out?
So the head football coach at our junior high, bottom junior high, we were the home of the Bulldogs, and and
powerhouse program.
It was powerhouse. We were there were three, as I mentioned, there were three junior highs in Temple. We were the third, but Herman Anderson was our head football coach and athletic director, and he also was my scout leader. Lived in the neighborhood. Was a man that just my mom called him Bulldog. They taught together on the same faculty, and that was her nickname for him. But just a great man, and just invested in me. Mary Adams was my taught senior English and humanities class, and she was a physician's wife in Temple. Her husband was a department head at Scott and White, and she'd been educated at Stanford. She was very different. She wasn't your typical Central Texas, very zany, brilliant, and she made me realize I had another gear that I didn't know I had. I was fortunate enough. Drake McLean Jr., the gentleman who sold his company to Walmart and ended up owning the Astros, and is still a dear friend. Drake was my Sunday school teacher at First Baptist in Temple, and he was a mentor then. He remains a mentor today in his late 80s.
Yeah. And I know you mentor others, including me. And what's it like being on the other end of that relationship?
Well, I think you have to be careful not just to always spit up on them, because you got all these, all this experience. You have to. I think you want to be. You got to meet them where they are. You've got to understand, what's important to them. You can share what you've learned, but some of your experiences don't matter to them, but many do, and it's fun. I had coffee this morning with one of the people that has been important in my life the last decade, and that I've had a chance to mentor.
Turning back to business, running and operating a business is a dream for a lot of people. Bass Rider Capital works with a lot of entrepreneurs. What did you enjoy most about running and operating a business? And maybe counter to that, what did you underestimate about running a business?
Yeah, I think I think the thing I appreciated the most, and you don't really get it till you're sort of out of it, is the fact that it never really ends. I mean, that there's always another mountain to climb, and at least the way I'm wired. And so, that it's limit. There's no limit to the challenges, and I think to me that that's the thing I enjoyed the very most about it. I think the difficult part is where is the most difficult part is where you fall short. Where you create a culture where you expect people to do certain things. Sometimes we're fallible as people. Yeah, we're fallen. You create a culture where you take care of your clients, take care of customers, and you miss the mark sometimes. That's one of the hardest things to do for me was learning that you're going to go to bed at night. You're not everybody's going to be happy. Not every customer is going to be satisfied. That's hard because you strive to take care of your clients, and so that probably is those are the two sides of that coin for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think dealing with failure is what you're really talking about, and how you deal with that. Oftentimes is how your employees are going to remember you.
That's right.
As well. And
it's the hard times. That's what they remember.
Yeah, and
right?
I guarantee if we sat here long enough and talked about all of your experiences at Benchmark, you probably remember the misses more than
2003. In all the years we ran the company, it's the only year we didn't hit our targets.
Or your quota?
And if you've called up several of the people that were part of that team, you ask them, they can answer that question. You wouldn't have to prompt them. And so, I remember it very well.
Yeah. What 3 qualities do you think business owners need to have in order to succeed?
As I get older, I think a lot about perspective. I think that's the idea that the good old days weren't as good as we think they were, and that what's in front of us today is probably not as difficult as it seems, and that the future is probably better than we expect it to be. Yeah. So I think perspective, particularly it's something that's hard to get. As you're younger, but I think if you really reflect, and we always wanted to talk about what we learned from something, win or lose, a big deal. What did we learn? What are the takeaways? What's the postmortem from this thing? And so I think perspective. I think perspective helps us as a parent. It certainly helped me in public office. So I think perspective is important. I think communication, you need to be able to explain what success looks like. If you want people to follow you somewhere, you need to be able to say, here's when we know we're going to be successful, when we've accomplished this, and then be able to reinforce that message. I'm fortunate that I'm wired in a way that I wake up and I do go through the same process every day. I'm very much I don't wake up in a different world every day. And so, but I do think that, that perspective is important. Being able to communicate is important. And then I'm looking for people that want to win. Yeah. And I just want people and that's different because some people winning, you'd never know they want to win. It takes you have to scrape it back to realize that somewhere in there, they want to win. They're never going to high five you, but it's a sense of accomplishment, maybe the way they look at it. It's they're able to button things up every night in their world, and I think you do those. If those things lead to people that get things done. Yeah.
A couple of questions about the area. You're from Temple, Texas. Grew up there. Had a great childhood. Yeah. Lived in Midland, Austin, Nashville. Probably could have picked a lot of different places. You chose to come back here. Why?
Well, we thought there was a great opportunity here. We had a chance to do our own thing and do it in Lubbock, Texas. And I'm thankful for my wife and her willingness to take a leap on that because, this is a Dallas girl who went to school in Austin. And, but we love Lubbock. We like the fact that people still matter. Neighborhoods still matter. You know, we joke, but it's true. You know, when somebody new moves to town, you know, somebody will take them up. Somebody's going to take them a cake, and the other neighbor's going to ask them where they go to church. And you know, that's who we are. And I think it's critical that we hold on to that old-fashioned kind of value system that we have. Family matters. Our schools matter, public or private. I mean, we our neighborhoods matter. You know, our quality of life is off the chart. People that don't live here don't know that. You know this. You've lived other places, but I mean, I spent more time in traffic. I was in Houston visiting our daughter and son-in-law to be recently, and I spent more time in traffic on a Thursday in November than I'll spend in Lubbock all year combined. I mean, it's just and we take that for granted. And we've got good restaurants, we've got great air travel, we've got the arts. The arts are your deal. I mean, Buddy Holly Hall is fantastic. The art scene we have, our ballet, we just certainly college sports. I mean, a research institution, D1 school adds so much to a community like this. And some people think of us as flyover country. I think of us as the best place you could pick to raise a family in the country.
Yeah, and we agree. We're, you know, it's, one of our theses for opening Mass Rider Capital was to be, you know, the first institutional capital provider so that businesses wouldn't have to go to Dallas or Houston or New York to find, you know, private equity or an investor for their business, and just could not agree more with that. So my final kind of digging deep question is, you know, you have the unique perspective being here in the 80s, being here Y2K. I mean, that seems like yesterday. And here we are in the year 2025. You know, paint me the vision of what Lubbock is going to be like in 2050.
Yeah, so I'm very bullish on Lubbock. I'm bullish on us because of investments we've made in infrastructure. Water matters today in Lubbock and in Texas, and it's going to matter increasingly more every day. Texas is going to grow. We're about 32 million people today. We're on our way by 2050 to somewhere between 45 and 50 million, depending on whose numbers you look at. People want to be in Texas. It's a can-do state. Government stays out of our way for the most part. There's still wide open spaces here. There's that entrepreneurial independent spirit, you know, still the old West. And so that's not going to go away. Lubbock's going to be the beneficiary of that. They can't all live on I-35 and East. You know, I drove on I-35 to high school. I understand this stuff. I mean, people, once they realize that you can see the sun both rise and set out here, we're going to have more people come this way. So I think Lubbock, with the foundation we have of our medical community and Texas Tech, I don't think ag certainly doesn't go away. It'll be different than what it is. I think energy becomes a bigger part of who we are, not just natural gas and oil, but energy as we think about how we create energy for around information. What we're seeing today with data centers, what we're seeing with some of the newer technologies. I mean, we don't need to be with a gun to our head told that we've got to diversify our energy, but we need to. We are, and we're doing it. West Texas is leading the way. I mean, whether it's wind energy or solar, we're leading the way. That complements what we already have as battery technology comes along. That's good for us. Lubbock's got to become a more attractive place for young college graduates. And we're working on that. We're making progress, but folks like Mask Rider are a big part of that. Investing in companies that are here, that don't have to move their headquarters to Austin or Dallas or Kerrville or, you know, Fort Worth or Oklahoma City, that they can do it in Lubbock, Texas, and attract our kids. Because once you live here and realize that you can work a full day, coach your kids' Little League team, be involved at the school on the PTA, teach Sunday school at church on Sunday, and still get on an airplane if you want to go watch your Red Raiders play in Dallas on Saturday morning and get back Saturday night, sleep in your own bed. I mean, we've got it going on. And, you make sacrifices a lot of places that you don't have to in Lubbock, and so I see Lubbock as in a great spot. Texas Tech is I'll just wrap with I've been a Red Raider as long as I can remember, and I can't think of a time when it was in the kind of spot it's in now. The leadership at both in Lubbock in the chancellor's office at the Health Science Center of the university, at the sister university, the parts of the system. The support we're getting from Austin and Washington, they see what's going on here. Those create jobs. That creates investment, and that investment's good for us long term.
Yeah, I mean, Tech's over 40,000 students, and think about, you're right, the number of graduates and what this business community needs to grow to work toward is try to keep as many of those graduates here. And I mean, you talk about a trajectory; it could be a very exponential trajectory for Lubbock over the coming years.
You probably don't want to hear my American dream, speech, but I still believe in the American dream, and I've gotten to live the American dream. You have too. I know your story.
Yeah.
And it's about creating a world for your kids that's better than what you have.
Yeah.
And it's about owning a home and a car and getting to take your kids on vacation and saving for college, and that to me is alive and well in our community.
Yeah, it sure is. Are you ready to go around the horn?
Let's go around the horn.
Yeah,
we're going third. Are we going 5, 4, 3? Or are we going to go? How we doing?
Any order you want to,
okay,
but these are meant to be a little bit faster answers, and
it's hard for me, but I'll do my best.
Well, that's okay. You can take a few seconds if you want to, but some of these will be fun, some of these will be serious. But our very first around the horn with Mr. Dan Pope. So, what is your favorite Texas Tech memory?
Ooh, wow. It may be Saturday before last in Arlington.
Winning the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, I think probably before that it would have been the whole Minneapolis experience, the 2019 team. But
pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think about my folks and my brothers and my aunts and my uncles and my nieces and nephews, and we finally won one. So I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, a lot of people say the Crabtree catch.
Yeah, I was there for
maybe
that.
the Zach Thomas interception.
I'm
sure you're there for that.
Yeah.
One that I'll always remember is the feeling when we beat Gonzaga and headed to the first Final Four out in Anaheim, California.
So that's when I got a kiss on my lips from Lawrence, from the president of the university. He's jumping around in the concourse looking for somebody to hug, and he tries to kiss my cheek. He gets my lips. And we've known each other forever about it. Oh, come on, Lawrence. That was a great experience.
I don't think you were the only grown man crying.
No, I wasn't.
It's a round of golf with the boys or a visit to the Hill Country.
Oh, I think I get to do both, but I think a round of golf with the boys. Yeah. I like that a lot. It's for all the reasons you know. Yeah.
Mask or no mask?
No mask.
That was pretty quick.
There was a time when I told people to wear their damn mask. Now I can say you take it off.
A good glass of wine or a good scotch?
Ooh, depends on the day. But like Deion Sanders said when they asked him on that commercial about thin crust or thick, he said both. I'll say both. I like both. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI?
I think it's transformative. I think there's. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna create this situation where we lose a lot of jobs. I think the power of it will, unleash the creativity of the American spirit, and I think you'll see businesses created that don't need to hire those folks that may find themselves displaced. I think it's running a little hot right now, but that's okay. We've been through bubbles before. This one, I like the fact that the balance sheet of the big companies in this, most of them, those balance sheets have a lot of cash on them, and I think it puts this in a little different perspective.
Yeah,
certainly than the .com bubble or something like that.
Suit and tie or business casual?
Oh, I'm probably suit and tie just because that's who I am.
Yeah. In honor of Thomas Shelby from the Peaky Blinders, what is your favorite hat? I know you got quite the collection.
Oh, it's my, some would say LBJ hat. It's both of my grandfathers wore a felt hat, and Denise had this one made for me 10 or 12 years ago in Fort Worth, and they call them Amon Carter hats in Fort Worth, but yeah, it's my favorite hat.
Yeah. What is one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
That I skied 15 days, snow skied 15 days last year. That I want to ski everything on the mountains. So from the double blacks to So I don't know. Some people know that, but a lot don't. Yeah.
I would also say a lot of people probably know you're competitive, but I don't know that they know how competitive you are.
Yeah, that's true, and we share that. You and I are both that way. No, I have a competitive fire that burns pretty hot, and I'm very emotional. And I think those things are. I try to hope those things are positive. You saw me a minute ago. I mean, but
it matters to you.
It does. Things like that matter. Yeah.
You close a big deal. What are you doing to celebrate?
I'm gonna. First thing I'm gonna do is try to make sure the people that we're responsible for it, but maybe aren't on the front line, get their credit for it, because there's always somebody back there that needs to celebrate, just like the people out front. And then I'm probably going to go home for a really good meal. My wife's a great cook, and I'll probably celebrate it over a glass of wine. Yeah, a good chewy cab, Jeffy.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right, we're about to complete Around the Horn, but last one, community involvement. Why does it matter?
Well, it's how we pay our civic rent. We all have skills. God gave us certain gifts. You've got a son that's got these skills to be a physician who's in med school. I mean, God didn't give me those gifts, but I have these. I have this passion to serve, and this ability to I think bring people together. And I think you do that whether you volunteer in your neighborhood, at your church, at your kid's school, whatever it may be. We've got to make the community we live in better, and the only way we do that is by serving.
Yeah,
giving back.
Yeah,
So I got great role models in that. My folks were great role models. My mentors, Lubbock or growing up, were great role models. I think of people like Robert Taylor, who's 77 and just still goes and goes and goes. And, those are my heroes, people like that.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I can't thank you enough for being on episode 1 of Heights of Victory.
Hope it makes it to episode 2.
Yeah, I think it will. I really appreciate it. I want you to know that you've been just a terrific example for a lot of people in Lubbock and West Texas and the state on running a business and being a leader in the community. I want to thank you for your mentorship, your friendship, and you're just a terrific person. And I think most important of all, it's great to see the kind of dad you are to Manning and Ann Claire and all of that, but really appreciate your time. It's been a blast having you here today.
Thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah. We look forward to your continued success with Victory Bank
and Damascus.
Yeah. So thank you.
And we expect Heights of Victory to do very, very well. Yes.
If you have a question for Dan or us here at Heights of Victory, you can email us at or send us a comment at heightsofvictory@massrider.com. We really appreciate you for catching this episode, number 1 of the Heights of Victory, and we'll see you next time here on the Heights of Victory.